Good morning, beloved. Today is not just another day. It is a day charged with heaven's possibilities. As the sun rises and light fills the world, God is inviting you to step into His presence, to claim the blessings He has already prepared for you, and to walk in victory that cannot be shaken. Imagine beginning your morning with a prayer so powerful that it sets the tone for your entire life. Peace that calms your soul, favor that opens doors, and breakthrough that shifts impossibilities into realities. This is not wishful thinking. This is the power of faith in action. Right now, in this moment, you have the opportunity to align your heart, your words, and your spirit with God's promises, and to see your day transform into a testimony of His goodness. Let us rise together in faith, lift our hearts, and embrace a morning prayer that brings peace, blessings, and breakthrough into every corner of our lives. Begin your day with prayer to invite God's presence. Every morning as the sun rises and the world awakens around you, there is a profound opportunity to step into the divine rhythm of life. The moment you open your eyes, you are given a choice to start your day in your own strength, relying on your own understanding and effort, or to start it with God, inviting His wisdom, guidance, and power into every decision, every step, and every word you will speak. When you make prayer the first act of your day, you are not merely performing a ritual. You are opening the door to heavenly alignment, allowing the Creator of the universe to lead you, direct you, and protect you in ways that human effort alone can never accomplish. The quiet moments of morning prayer create a spiritual atmosphere around you that is both protective and empowering. It is in these moments that your heart connects with God's heart, and His Spirit begins to infuse your soul with peace, clarity, and confidence. When you speak to God in the morning, even in the simplest words, you are acknowledging His sovereignty over your day, declaring that He is the source of your strength, your wisdom, and your success. As you bow your heart in prayer, you are planting seeds of faith that will grow throughout the day. Each prayer of thanksgiving, each word of surrender, and each request offered with faith creates a spiritual foundation upon which your day can stand strong. Morning prayer is not just for asking. It is for aligning your will with God's will, for opening your heart to His purposes, and for inviting His supernatural intervention in your life. When you commit the first part of your day to Him, you are prioritizing what is eternal over what is temporary, the unseen over the visible, the spiritual over the natural. This choice sets the trajectory of your day toward divine favor, unexpected opportunities, and peace that surpasses understanding. You will find that the challenges you face later in the day lose their power when your morning begins with God. His presence becomes a shield around you, His word a lamp to your feet, and His Spirit a guide for every interaction and decision. There is a dynamic transformation that takes place when you start your day in prayer. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions begin to reflect a heavenly perspective, and suddenly, what seemed impossible or overwhelming becomes manageable, and solutions appear where there were. Morning prayer sets the tone for peace and joy. Peace is not something that comes from external circumstances. It is the natural outcome of God's presence in your heart. When you begin your day in prayer, you're actively choosing to anchor your mind and spirit in the calm assurance of God's love and power. Instead of waking up with anxiety about the unknown or stress over what may happen, your heart is fortified with the reality that God is in control. This peace is not passive. It is active, dynamic, and transformative. It changes the way you perceive problems, the way you respond to difficulties, and the way you relate to others. Joy also flows naturally from this peace. For when the Spirit of God fills your heart first thing in the morning, happiness is no longer dependent on circumstances. You begin to see the goodness of God in every little detail, the beauty of the sunrise, the quiet moments of stillness, the opportunities to love and serve those around. When your day starts with prayer, you are cultivating a mindset of gratitude, hope, and expectation. And this mindset shapes every choice, word, and action throughout the day. The act of morning prayer also aligns you with the spiritual principles that govern success, favor, and breakthrough. It is in these early moments that the enemy of your soul often tries to sow doubt, fear, and distraction. But when you rise to meet the day with prayer, you are positioning yourself under the protection of God's power. You are declaring that your day, your mind, and your actions are under the authority of heaven, and nothing that comes against you can prevail. Each morning spent in prayer is a declaration that you trust God's plan more than your own, that you believe His timing is perfect, and that you are willing to receive His blessings and guidance with a heart fully open. This choice transforms ordinary mornings into extraordinary beginnings, and ordinary days into days where miracles, favor, and breakthrough become tangible realities. When you speak to God first thing in the morning, your entire being begins to resonate with His presence. Your thoughts become clearer, your emotions steadier, and your spirit stronger. The very atmosphere around you begins to shift as well, for God's presence has power to influence situations, relationships, and outcomes. You begin to notice doors opening, conflicts resolving, and divine connections forming that you might have otherwise overlooked. Your morning prayer becomes a launch pad for divine intervention, setting in motion events that will bring peace in troubled moments, blessings in unexpected ways, and breakthroughs where there seem to be obstacles. Every word you speak in faith, every petition you lift in earnest, and every moment of stillness you spend in God's presence is planting seeds that will produce a harvest of favor, joy, and victory throughout your day. Declare God's promises over your life daily. Every morning, as the day begins, there is a spiritual opportunity that many overlook. A chance to speak life, hope, and faith over the hours ahead. The words you declare have power. They are not mere sounds. They are spiritual seeds that carry authority. When you intentionally declare God's promises over your life, you are aligning your spirit with His eternal truths. You are reminding yourself that your life is under the care and guidance of a loving Creator who is faithful to fulfill every promise He has spoken. This daily practice transforms your mind from fear to faith, from doubt to expectation, and from worry to peace. It is not just about repetition, it is about belief, intention, and surrender, knowing that as you declare His promises, His Spirit confirms them within you and begins to orchestrate circumstances in your favor. Think about the words you speak at the start of your day. Are they words of anxiety, uncertainty, or fear? Or are they words of faith, confidence, and hope? When you speak God's promises aloud, you are inviting His power to manifest in your life. You are telling heaven that you trust Him to lead, guide, and provide. This act is not passive, it is active faith in motion. For example, when you say, I am blessed, I am protected, I am guided, I am prospering, you are sowing spiritual seeds that bring a harvest of peace, favor, and success. The words of faith you declare are like a spiritual map for your day, showing your mind and your spirit the path of God's blessings and setting a tone of expectation for divine intervention. Declaring promises also protects your heart and mind from the attacks of the enemy. Every day there are forces at work seeking to instill fear, doubt, and confusion. But when your mouth is filled with God's promises, these forces lose their power. Your declaration acts as a shield guarding your thoughts, your emotions, and your spirit. It allows you to walk through challenges with confidence, knowing that what God has promised cannot fail. There is power in repetition, consistency, and intentionality. When you make it a daily habit to speak God's word over yourself and your family, you begin to experience a shift not only in your circumstances, but also in your inner life. Fear gives way to peace, discouragement turns into hope, and uncertainty transforms into faith-filled expectation. Faith-filled words act as seeds for blessings. Just as a farmer plants seeds in the soil with the expectation of a harvest, your words of faith are seeds planted in the spiritual realm. Each declaration of God's promises is a seed that carries the potential to produce blessings in every area of your life. The more consistently you declare them, the stronger and more fruitful these seeds become. Blessings do not come by chance. They come by faith and action, by the conscious choice to align your life with God's truth. When you speak faith-filled words, you are creating a spiritual environment that attracts favor, protection, provision, and opportunities. You are telling your spirit, your mind, and the world around you that you are positioned for divine multiplication. The principle is simple but profound. Whatever you plant will grow. If you sow words of fear, doubt, or negativity, those are the fruits you will reap. But if you sow words of faith, hope, and God's promises, you will see blessings multiply. Speak about your health as God's healing. Speak about your finances as God's provision. Speak about your family as God's protection. Every area of your life responds to the seeds you plant with your words. This is why declaring promises is not a one-time act. It is a daily spiritual discipline. It trains your heart, renews your mind, and positions you for breakthrough. Persistence in prayer brings breakthroughs. Often people stop praying too soon, expecting immediate results, and when they don't see them, discouragement sets in. But breakthrough is not always instantaneous. It comes through faithful persistence, unwavering expectation, and trust in God's timing. The more consistent and committed you are in prayer, the more you align yourself with God's plan and power. Every prayer is a spiritual step toward your breakthrough. Every morning spent in persistent, faith-filled prayer moves you closer to the manifestation of God's blessing. It is in the act of continuing to pray, even when circumstances seem unchanged, that your faith is tested and strengthened. Breakthrough comes when your prayers are aligned with God's promises and your heart remains steadfast in faith. Sometimes the answers to prayer may not look like what you expected, but they are perfectly timed and tailored to bring the greatest good. Persistence demonstrates your trust in God's wisdom and His ultimate plan for your life. It is not just about asking, it is about staying in God's presence, remaining in dialogue with Him, and refusing to give up until you see the breakthrough. Many have given up too early, only to miss the very moment when God's power would have moved on their behalf. Persistence also creates spiritual momentum. The longer you continue in prayer, the more your faith grows and the more your spirit becomes attuned to God's guidance. Obstacles that once seemed insurmountable begin to dissolve, and doors that were closed start to open. Breakthrough is not always immediate, but persistence ensures that when it comes, it is complete and lasting. Every prayer, every declaration, every act of faith in persistence is like a stone placed in the foundation of your breakthrough. Ensuring that it will stand firm and secure. Do not forget the power of persistence. Many people pray once or twice, and when results do not appear immediately, they grow discouraged. They forget that faith is not measured by a single act, but by continued reliance on God's promises. True breakthrough comes to those who remain steadfast, who do not allow delay or difficulty to weaken their commitment. Persistence in prayer is a demonstration of trust. It shows that your faith is not dependent on circumstances, but on the unwavering character of God. Each time you return to prayer, even when it feels repetitive or when the answer seems delayed, you are strengthening your spiritual muscles. You are training your heart and mind to remain fixed on God rather than on the problem. Every persistent prayer is a declaration that you believe God is working. Even when you cannot yet see the result, breakthrough does not always come in the way we expect. Sometimes God's answers are different from our plans, but they are always perfectly suited to our highest good. By persisting in prayer, you position yourself to receive not only what you have asked for, but what you truly need according to God's wisdom. Each day that you persevere, each morning that you rise to speak with God, is a day in which faith is being cultivated and in which doors of opportunity are being opened. Persistence is not simply repetition. It is faith in action, a spiritual discipline that demonstrates confidence in God's timing and His faithfulness. It is the quiet determination to continue to seek God's presence, guidance, and provision until the breakthrough manifests. Those who persist experience a spiritual growth that strengthens them for future challenges, equipping them with patience, wisdom, and the assurance that God is working on their behalf, even when results are not immediately visible. Every persistent prayer builds spiritual momentum. The more you continue, the more your faith aligns with God's will. The Spirit begins to move in unseen ways, orchestrating circumstances, opening doors, and preparing your heart to receive the blessings that are already on their way. The breakthrough that comes through persistence is not fleeting. It is lasting and transformative. It reshapes your life, strengthens your spirit, and deepens your relationship with God. It teaches you that nothing in your life can move faster than your faith allows. And yet, with steadfast commitment, even mountains can be removed. Invite God's blessings on family, work, and health. Many people focus only on their personal needs, forgetting that blessings are meant to flow outward as well. The morning prayer is an opportunity not just for personal gain, but for intercession on behalf of those you love, those you work with, and even those you may not know personally. When you ask God to bless your family, you are planting seeds of protection, provision, and peace around those you care about. This act of prayer goes beyond your own life, extending God's favor and guidance to the people who walk alongside you each day. As you pray for your work or career, you are inviting wisdom, creativity, and divine opportunities into your professional life. You are asking God to open doors that human effort alone cannot open and to provide solutions that are beyond your own understanding. Health is another area where morning prayer brings profound impact. The body responds to the mind and spirit, and when you lift up your health in prayer, you are inviting God's healing, strength, and vitality into your life. By praying for your health daily, you reinforce a mindset of wellness and divine protection, preparing your body and mind to overcome challenges and resist illness. Prayer for blessings is not limited to material or visible needs. It encompasses every area of life, spiritual, emotional, and physical. The more specific your prayers are, the more clearly you signal your faith and intention, and the more powerfully God's Spirit can work on your behalf. Blessings flow where faith flows. There is a spiritual law that mirrors natural principles. Whatever your heart is connected to will expand and multiply. If your heart is anchored in faith, if your words declare God's promises, and if your actions align with His word, blessings will follow. Morning prayer is the channel through which your faith begins to flow into every aspect of your life. As you release faith through prayer, you create an environment where God's favor can move. Every word of faith, every act of obedience, and every expression of trust sets in motion a process that attracts divine favor, protection, provision, and breakthrough. Those who cultivate a consistent practice of inviting God's blessings into their lives find that challenges diminish, opportunities multiply, and peace fills their hearts even in difficult circumstances. By praying for others, you also reinforce your own blessings. There is a profound principle in Scripture that when you bless others, blessings return to you. Morning prayer that reaches beyond personal need creates a ripple effect, touching lives and opening spiritual doors that benefit not only those you pray for, but also your own life. Your prayers become conduits of divine power, flowing outward and returning as abundance, favor, and peace. The act of praying for family, work, and health strengthens your connection to God, increases your sensitivity to His guidance, and opens your heart to receive blessings that are perfectly timed and uniquely suited to your life. Gratitude amplifies God's favor in your life. Many people underestimate the power of a thankful heart. Yet, gratitude is a spiritual principle that opens the windows of heaven. When you begin your day by thanking God for what you already have, you are acknowledging His goodness and setting the stage for greater blessings. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance, from problems to possibilities, from fear to faith. It transforms your perspective and aligns your heart with God's will. Each word of thanks, whether spoken aloud or silently in your heart, carries spiritual weight and signals to heaven that you recognize the source of all blessings. A heart filled with gratitude is fertile soil for God's favor. It is receptive, open, and ready to receive the overflow of His goodness. When you express gratitude in the morning, you are not only thanking God for yesterday, but also claiming His faithfulness for today. Gratitude is a declaration of trust. It tells God that you believe He is already at work in your life, orchestrating circumstances, opening doors, and providing solutions even before you see them. This expectation, fueled by gratitude, creates an atmosphere in which blessings can multiply. Gratitude also changes your energy. It replaces worry with peace, fear with joy, and despair with... When your day begins with a heart of thankfulness, every interaction, decision, and challenge is influenced by that mindset. Your words, actions, and thoughts carry a resonance of faith that draws divine favor. There is a spiritual magnetism in gratitude. It attracts opportunities, connections, and provision that might otherwise remain unseen. Peace comes from God's presence, not circumstances. Many people search for peace in comfort, security, or the resolution of problems, but true peace is not found in external situations. It is a gift that flows from God's presence in your heart. When you begin your morning with prayer, inviting God into your day, you are consciously positioning yourself in His peace. This is the peace that calms your spirit in the midst of uncertainty, steadies your heart when storms arise, and gives clarity when confusion threatens to overwhelm you. Peace is not passive, it is active and powerful. It protects your mind from fear, your soul from discouragement, and your body from the stress that can accompany anxious thoughts. It allows you to approach every circumstance with confidence, knowing that God is in control and that His Spirit will guide you through every challenge. Starting your day in God's presence creates a spiritual shield. When your first words, thoughts, and actions are anchored in prayer, you are covered by His authority and surrounded by His protection. Circumstances that might unsettle others have little power over a person whose heart is aligned with God's peace. Your inner calm becomes a beacon, influencing not only your own life, but also the lives of those around you. Peace in your heart radiates outward, fostering harmonious relationships, wise decisions, and a steady confidence that can overcome any obstacle. Even when challenges arise unexpectedly, your spirit remains grounded, anchored in the truth that God's presence goes before you and His power is at work on your behalf. Peace and gratitude work together to create a fertile environment for blessings. When your heart is thankful and your spirit is calm, you are receptive to God's provision in ways that fear or negativity would prevent. You begin to notice opportunities, solutions, and divine guidance that might otherwise pass by unnoticed. The combination of a thankful heart and a peaceful spirit enhances your ability to see God's hand at work in every situation. This alignment is essential for breakthroughs, favor, and spiritual growth. When peace resides in your soul, you can act decisively, speak wisely, and walk boldly, confident that God is orchestrating your steps. Every morning, you have the chance to cultivate this inner state. By giving thanks, speaking God's promises, and inviting His presence, you position yourself to experience blessings in abundance. Peace is not something you own. It transforms your entire day, influencing your thoughts, emotions, and actions. As you carry this peace, you become a conduit of God's favor, allowing His blessings to flow not only to you, but through you to others. When you integrate gratitude and peace into your morning prayers, you are building a strong spiritual foundation. Your faith grows as you recognize God's faithfulness, your heart strengthens as you practice thankfulness, and your spirit is fortified as you dwell in His presence. This daily discipline sets the tone for a life that is increasingly aligned with God's purposes, marked by favor, joy, and supernatural provision. It also equips you to face the challenges of the day with confidence, knowing that your life is guided, protected, and blessed by the Creator. Trust in God's unseen plan for your breakthrough. Often people grow anxious because they cannot see what God is doing behind the scenes. They measure progress by visible results, but true spiritual breakthrough often unfolds in the unseen. Every prayer, every act of faith, and every moment of obedience is moving you closer to the manifestation of God's promises. Even when the path seems unclear, trust that God's plan is perfect and that He is working all things together for your good. Trust is not passive. It is an active decision to believe in God's wisdom, timing, and power. It requires patience, confidence, and a heart fully surrendered to His guidance. When you trust God's unseen plan, you are no longer dependent on circumstances or human understanding. Your faith becomes the lens through which you view every situation, and you begin to perceive opportunities and solutions that would otherwise be invisible. Trust allows you to navigate uncertainty with courage, to persevere in prayer with determination, and to maintain hope even when challenges seem overwhelming. Breakthrough often comes not when we see the path clearly, but when we continue faithfully, knowing that God is working behind the scenes, preparing the perfect timing and conditions for victory. Speak life, believe, and walk in daily victory. Every morning you are presented with a choice that has eternal significance, the choice to start your day in faith rather than fear, in confidence rather than doubt, and in victory rather than defeat. Words are not just expressions, they are spiritual forces that shape your reality. The moment you speak life over yourself, your family, your work, and your circumstances, you are declaring that you are aligned with God's purposes and promises. This is not mere optimism. It is a conscious act of faith that moves the invisible spiritual forces in your favor. When you begin your day by declaring God's goodness and proclaiming His promises, you are laying a foundation of victory that will carry you through every challenge, every decision, and every interaction. To speak life means to consciously choose words that reflect faith, hope, and divine truth. Instead of focusing on limitations, obstacles, or failures, you intentionally declare God's power, provision, and protection over your life. Words have authority. They can build or destroy, encourage or discourage, create or hinder. By speaking life, you are aligning your spirit with God's will, setting in motion spiritual dynamics that produce blessings, favor, and breakthrough. Your declarations of faith act like seeds planted in the spiritual realm, seeds that grow into harvests of peace, joy, and success. Each positive word you speak activates the power of God and invites His presence into every area of your day. Believing is the next vital step. Faith is not passive. It is an active trust in the unseen, a confident expectation that God will fulfill His promises. Belief transforms your mindset and positions your spirit to receive blessings that are already prepared for you. When you believe, you are cooperating with God's plan rather than resisting it through doubt or fear. When you rise each morning with faith in your heart, expecting God to act on your behalf, your entire life begins to reflect His favor. Obstacles that once seemed insurmountable are overcome. Opportunities previously hidden become visible, and solutions appear where none seem possible. Belief turns ordinary days into days of divine opportunity and extraordinary favor. Walking in daily victory requires action in alignment with faith. Victory is not passive. It is a lifestyle that is actively pursued through obedience, prayer, and trust in God. Every decision you make, every step you take, and every word you speak must reflect your faith and your commitment to God's principles. Victory is produced by consistency, consistent prayer, consistent declarations of God's promises, and consistent trust in His plan. It is not dependent on circumstances, but on the eternal power of God working through you. Daily victory is achieved when your heart, mind, and actions are united with God's purposes, creating a life that reflects His glory and manifests His blessings in tangible ways. When you speak life, believe, and walk in victory, you are also influencing those around you. Your words of faith and confidence can inspire, encourage, and uplift others. Your example of trust in God and steadfastness in prayer becomes a beacon of hope to family, friends, and colleagues. The spiritual atmosphere around you is transformed by your faith-filled declarations and your confident walk. You begin to notice that doors open more easily, relationships strengthen, and obstacles diminish. This is the supernatural effect of living a life fully surrendered to God and committed to speaking life, believing in His promises, and walking in victory every day. It is important to recognize that daily victory does not mean the absence of challenges. On the contrary, challenges are inevitable, but they are not insurmountable when your faith is rooted in God. Every difficulty you face is an opportunity to demonstrate trust, obedience, and perseverance. When you approach challenges with a mindset of faith, they become opportunities for growth, testimony, and the manifestation of God's power. Each trial conquered strengthens your faith, reinforces your declarations, and confirms that daily victory is possible even in the midst of adversity. Daily victory also involves spiritual vigilance. You must guard your heart and mind against negativity, doubt, and fear. The enemy often seeks to discourage, distract, and derail you. But when you maintain a consistent practice of prayer, declaration, and belief, you are fortified against spiritual attacks. Your faith acts as a shield, protecting your thoughts, emotions, and actions from being influenced by circumstance. Victory is not accidental. It is deliberate, intentional, and cultivated through spiritual discipline. The more consistent you are in aligning your words, thoughts, and actions with God's word, the more your life reflects His promises and manifests His favor. The process of speaking life, believing, and walking in daily victory creates a momentum of blessing. Each day builds upon the previous one, and over time the effects compound. Your prayers, declarations, and acts of faith accumulate, producing outcomes that are far greater than you could achieve through human effort alone. This momentum reinforces your confidence in God, strengthens your trust in His timing, and solidifies your understanding that breakthroughs, favor, and blessings are the natural results of a life fully surrendered to Him. Furthermore, walking in daily victory positions you to receive divine opportunities. Opportunities often arise in subtle, unexpected ways. They may appear as chance encounters, sudden openings, or moments of insight, but they are the result of a life aligned with God's principles. When you speak life and believe, your spirit is attuned to recognize these opportunities and act upon them with wisdom and confidence. Daily victory ensures that you are ready to step into God's blessings as they unfold, fully prepared to seize every chance for growth, provision, and spiritual advancement. Faithful consistency is essential. Just as the early morning prayer sets the tone for the day, so too does persistent faith and daily declarations create an enduring foundation for lifelong success and breakthrough. Your words, your belief, and your actions must be cultivated continuously. Each morning, as you speak life over yourself and your circumstances, declare God's promises, and act in alignment with faith, you are building a spiritual legacy, one that influences your family, your community, and even generations to come. This is the transformative power of walking in daily victory. A life lived deliberately in faith, expectation, and obedience, fully open to God's supernatural work. Victory becomes a lifestyle when it is rooted in the principles of God's Word. Speaking life, believing, and walking daily in faith allows the Spirit of God to guide your steps, open doors, and multiply your efforts beyond what is humanly possible. The journey of faith is not only about personal success. It is about becoming a vessel through which God's blessings, peace, and favor flow into the world. Each declaration, each act of trust, and each step of obedience strengthens your connection to God, ensuring that your life reflects His glory and manifests His promises in tangible, life-changing ways. Beloved, everything we have explored today flows from one central truth. God is faithful, His promises are true, and He desires to bless your life beyond what you can imagine. When you begin your day with prayer, you invite His presence into your heart and home, setting the tone for peace and joy. When you declare His promises, you plant seeds of faith that will grow into blessings in every area of your life. When you persist in prayer, you position yourself for breakthroughs that cannot be explained by human effort alone. When you give thanks, you amplify God's favor and cultivate a heart that attracts divine blessings. When you trust in His unseen plan, you step confidently into opportunities even when the path is unclear. And when you speak life, believe in His word, and walk in daily victory, you are living a life fully aligned with heaven's purposes. Every key principle we have discussed, peace, blessings, breakthrough, gratitude, persistence, trust, faith-filled words, is not theoretical. It is practical. It is attainable. And it is yours when you intentionally partner with God each morning. Today you have learned that faith is active, prayer is powerful, and words have authority. You have been reminded that God's presence transforms challenges into opportunities, obstacles into stepping stones, and ordinary days into extraordinary testimonies. No matter what you are facing, no matter the size of your mountain, God's power is greater, His favor is wider, and His love is deeper than anything in your life. So rise in faith, declare His promises, pray without ceasing, and step boldly into the life of peace, blessing, and breakthrough that is already waiting for you. To go forth in faith today. Speak life, walk in victory, and watch God move mightily in your life. Your breakthrough starts this morning. Claim it, believe it, and live it.